here today. We're at Boldings Pools this time for a midweek competition. I've drawn, what have I drawn? I've drawn 18 on Chestnut Pool, which I'm fairly happy with, to be honest. I've not been to Boldings much, I've been here once or twice. And this seems to have always been quite a good area, to be honest. It seems to be the best area of the lake. Recently there's been a few fish up the top end, but I'm still quite happy. I think it's going to be a nice varied day with a few fish to be caught. Fishing wise, so as usual, dead simple. It's only just starting to warm up a bit. It's the end of March, so the weights have been decent. They've been catching 70 to 80 pound at the start of the match, so I'm going to keep it very much pellet based. I'm going to try and catch on hard pellets. I'm going to start on short pellets, try and fish on hard pellets later, and then I'm going to catch a few down the edge. But right now I'm going to start my match, see how it goes, and I'll talk as we go through. Right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start, I've plumbed up just the bottom of my shelf, and I'm going to start there with soft pellets, because although I'd like to fish hard pellets, soft ones are almost a safe start. I know there's some skimmers and things like that in here, some small F1s. So by starting with some little pellets, so we've got to use fishery pellets, so I'm using little, just slightly dampened 3mm pellets I'm putting in. I'm going to start on my short line. What I've done, I've just gone to an angle. Instead of fishing it right in front of me on my top two, I've actually gone, sorry, top kitten 2, I've gone top kitten 3 instead, but down my peg. So I'm fishing the same distance I would in front of me, but down a little bit, just to keep out the way. So I've always found that whenever I've been here, it's always quite a slow starting venue. You never seem to catch a lot early on at this venue. So I'm quite happy to sit there short for a good half hour, whether I catch fish or not pretty much, and just see what's going on elsewhere, see if many fish are getting caught. So I think it's got a chance of being a good match today. I think, oh, something happened then. It's got a chance of being a good match. I think it's like £100 one yesterday from the top end of this lake, 120 odd. So there's definitely some fish feeding. But how we're going to catch them at the moment, I've not got a clue. So we're going to start on this short line, and I'm going to look at feeding some hard, bigger pellets, like there's probably about 5mm of bigger pellets. I'm going to feed them at 13 metres with it. There's a little bit of a lump, so I'm going to fish on that because I get a bit of a harder bottom then as well. So we're going to fish at 13 metres where I'm going to ping a few. I'm not going to feed it just yet. I'm not going to feed it till I go on it. This chap next to me's just caught one. And then there's a possibility I can either fish on the bottom and catch a few, and we might even catch some shallow later on. There's half a chance we'll catch a few fish shallow. So I've always got that option. The weather's forecast to warm up quite a bit later on. And at this time of year, with it still being quite cold overnight, the fish are very, very quick to respond to any sunshine, and they'll come right up to try and warm themselves up. So whether they'll be feeding up there, I don't know, but it's definitely where they're going to be. They're going to be off the bottom quite quick. So hopefully we'll pick a few off there. So I'm really fancying me left-hand edge as well here. I've got a little bit of room down this edge. A bit of an indication on the settle then. Might be a little tiny fish. I'm really fancying this left-hand edge here with this wind pushing in. Although the water's still very clear, I'm not expecting to catch tight into the edge, although I've done a rig for that. I am expecting to catch probably about 3 foot of water, which as I look down it, just right in the middle of those conifers down the middle of my peg, I've got about 3 foot, and it's quite nice and gradual as well. Nice, not a flat bottom, but a really nice level slope. It's not too steep at all, so I can feed some bait on that later on. There we go, we got one. Let's see what happens. What's going on here? Is this a skin bob? We'll take that. We don't mind catching if they're that big. We don't mind them. Definitely don't mind. So that's the reason I chose to fish soft pellet short instead of hard pellets. I definitely noticed a few times on here that there's some skimmers to be caught and they're worth catching. So if I'd have started on hard pellet, there's a chance I wouldn't have caught them. So my rig for this is quite a positive one. I've got my usual 4x16 float, because I've probably got 5 foot of water there, and it's shotted with great big shot down the bottom end. I've got a number 9 about 3.5 inches away from my hook, and then I've got spread number 9 all the way above that, probably every 2 or 3 inches. got a number 9, just to get my bait down nice and quick. So I'm not going to catch any fish on the drop on this line. But also with this strong wind that I've got pushing this way, it's going to keep my float right in place and much better. So it's quite important I fish a wire stem on that as well. I've got a wire stem float on that just to increase the stability as well, just to keep that float right where I want it to be. So because I'm fishing on a slope on that short, I'll tell you what, there's a few fish down here. Yeah, because I'm fishing on a slope on that short line, if I go 6 inches to the left, it comes up about 3 or 4 inches. And then obviously if I go further out, it's going to drop as well. So it's important I'm right in line with my far bank marker, and that float stays still when it's in the water. It's not what we want. It hasn't took very long at all for them little skimmers to get in on it. It's took me 2 feeds, that. It's probably 20 pellets per feed. And the little skimmers are straight on it, which, say, not being here before, not. And a great big carp swimming past up there. See it on top, right where that one top then. That's the first one I've seen this year, swimming around on the top. I thought that was a big ball of F1s or something then, but it wasn't. It was just a big lad swimming past just under the surface. I say it's quite a mixed species job here. It's not predominantly F1s or predominantly carp. It's quite a bit of both. So I'm not quite sure how the day's going to pan out, whether I'm going to have to be patient and just catch odd big uns, or whether it's going to be an F1 day. I'd expect it to be an F1 job, but it being so early in the year, the carp aren't quite feeding yet. They don't often respond to bait yet. So the F1s are a safer bet for feeding. But I could still be surprised. There could be a few carp to be caught later on, especially if that sun comes out and the wind doesn't get too bad. Already I'm thinking that soft pellet short, it might have been a bad mistake. I did definitely have to start on it just to see, but already I think it might be worth swapping my hook length, putting a hard pellet on. It's not quite the right rig to fish hard pellets, but in order to keep away from these tiny fish, I might swap to a hard pellet hook bait and carry on feeding the soft 3 mils that I've done. Yeah, that's what we want. So that is my 3rd cast. So it took 3 feeds that to get a proper fish. It's weird, it gone a little bit quiet then. I wouldn't expect that to see them sort of signs straight away, but so them little skimmers come straight in, and then it just like nothing was happening for a minute. So it was obviously something bigger had come in. This feels like a proper F1. See, they're proper adder uppers that size, right? If we don't mind catching them that big. So if you remember, this is definitely a big F1 venue. There's a lot of, like, the original batch of F1s that are in here, and they're all great big lads. I know there's some 5 and 6 pounders in here. So you never know, one of them would be nice. So they all look nice in here as well, because it's quite weird, the colour, because it's quite clear, the water. All the F1s like dead golden and dark and dead sexy in here.
A bit too passionate about F1s.
I like a bit of F1s. I like a nice sexy F1. Like that though, that's got me happy, that. Right, so I've just caught that F1 and I've gone back in and I had 3 little tiny skimmers straight away. So it's definitely a case of a bigger fish came in my peg. It went quiet and then so I've caught it. But as soon as I've started feeding again, them little horrible skimmers will come back in my peg. Which, so I don't mind catching some fish, but they're too small. I'm not putting any weight whatsoever in my net. So I'm going to swap straight away. I've just put a rig on. Just a little air rig with a band on, a little bit of O10. And I'm going to swap to a banded pellet instead. It is going to mean that I don't catch any skimmers. What I'm doing as well, with a soft pellet, I had a number 9 on my hook length. So now that I'm swapping to a hard pellet, I've not bothered putting a shot on my hook length just to give myself a little bit of a slower fall. because I've got the added weight of a hard pellet now instead of an expander, the pellet will actually show me bite up a little bit. I'll be able to incorporate my pellet into my shotting, especially if my float pulls into this bank a little bit. So I don't have to have shot quite as close to the hook now. It's still not right, still not exactly how I like fishing hard pellets, but it'll do for this short line. My second option on this short line was also to swap it to maggots later on. That's what I was thinking of doing, starting on pellets, and then when I fished elsewhere, swapping it to maggots. For the last hour maybe, but with how many small silvers there are, I don't know whether that'd be a good move or not. So I'm going to wait and see what everyone else is doing. See if I see anyone throwing any bait short, or throwing any maggot short, and then make my decision then. The last thing I want to do is blow a line by swapping to the wrong bait and filling it full of tiny fish, when I could have left it as it was and caught a few bigger fish on it later on. I say we're fishing quite late, we're fishing till 4:30. So there's a good chance there's going to be there's going to be some fish to be caught short later on. But whether they'll end up in 5 foot where I am now, in 4 foot close to the edge, or even in 2.5 foot right against the edge, I don't know. So I've got to be careful not to mess anywhere up. There's a few bigger fish starting to get caught now. So either side of me have both had a proper fish. So I wasn't sure what to think this morning when I drew here. So I was happy with the area, but with the wind blowing in, it could have gone either way. It's a cold wind the last couple of days. We've had a lot of rain, so I was worried that the wind could make the fish back off. But at the moment, I think we're getting away with it. It's a shame. I proper fancied that. I'd have loved to have drawn either of those points on the island. They look lovely then for a nice day's pinging in the shallow water. There's quite a few fish up in that shallow water as well. So as a desperation tactic, it could even be worth setting a rod up and chucking it towards that island, but I feel like I'm going out my peg a little bit then. So I'll tell you what, I've struck there and I've caught this little fish, but a big fish has just bow waved off. So there's a carp then having a look very, very close. Yeah, definitely don't mind catching skimmers if they're that big. I was a bit worried that they wouldn't eat hard pellets, but if the bigger ones eat it, that's even better. So I'm not feeding any of the bigger pellets, I'm just feeding 20 of these little, but they're quite big, they're like 3mm pellets. In fact, we are going to feed a couple. And all I've done, I've just literally dampened them slightly. So they seem to be, I think, the Coppens type pellets from here, the fishery pellets. So you've got to be very careful not to put too much water on them or they'll just go to glue. They're no good for anything, so I've just covered them, stirred it around a bit, and then tipped the water off. And luckily I'm feeding them, and every single one's going down. I think when I start catapulting these next lot, most of them seem quite heavy. They're going to go down quite quickly. So if they've had that rain that we've had, then it'll all go in and it'll go to the deck and make every... Oh, I thought that was going to be a jumping skimmer then. I thought he was going to go for it. I haven't had one of them for ages. What is it? It isn't. It nearly was. What a well worth catching, aren't they? I didn't realise the size of them. It's a pound, that, isn't it? Easy a pound in. Right, it's going. All right, I'm proper impressed with the start we're having so far. Everything's a right good stamp as well. The F1s are big buggers. Don't even know what happened then. I'm sure that were in the mouth, but it was hooked in the dorsal fin then. But yeah, we've had 2 F1s now that'll go £4.5 probably. And we've had 3 skimmers as well that are £1 a piece. So I'm quite happy with that. But yeah, swapping to them hard pellets is definitely a good move. Although I was getting plenty of bites on soft ones, and I would have caught the odd big fish. better fish. But you're wasting so much time with them little 1 and 2 ounce things that it's not worth spending time catching them. It's going to be too good for that. Yeah, it seems all right now. So there's the odd fish getting caught, but we're definitely best on this lake at the moment. It's a much better start than I was expecting as well. So for me, it's always renowned to be quite a slow start venue, this. I've never gone in the half a dozen times that I've been here, it's never been good straight away. It's always it builds up and gets really good late on generally. But to have a start like this, it's great. So with that cold night as well last night, I didn't expect much to be feeding at all. I think it went down to about 2 degrees last night. But we're going well, so we're probably half an hour in. And I've got no intention of doing anything else just yet. So obviously this is never going to last for the duration of the session, no way in the world. But so there's no need to feed any other areas or even think about it yet. I'm catching an odd fish and I'm not falling behind, so it's pointless me wasting another area in my peg by moving to 13 metres or whatever and not really catching just yet when they're not feeding, when there's the odd fish to be caught here. I say I've only got 3 areas in my peg to fish really, so I need them to last the full match, not use them too quick by trying to chase fish. It's a mistake I see a lot, that people moving throughout the peg as quickly as they can to try and find some fish, when often you're better just sitting and waiting. If you've only got one option in your peg, one area to feed, at least if anything's going to have a chew, they've only got one option to feed them. So for now, we're going to sit here and see what happens. It surprised me, it's not towing at all yet, not on this short line anyway. I expected it to be towing a lot more. The wind's blowing my float up the shelf slightly, but I'm holding that back. By using a back shot, I can hold my pole out into the lake and I can cling onto it a little bit to stop it blowing right up the shelf too quick. But there's no tow whatsoever. Might be a big carps as well. Might even be my big £5 F1, Rich. I'm having one today. It's not very happy. I can't give it too much stick. I'm only starting on 010. So I've got to be nice and delicate, so you can land anything on 10, just as long as you take your time. So obviously if I hook 2 or 3 more quickly, then I'll swap straight up to an 012 or even heavier. But so I was expecting F1, so I thought 010 would have been the right way to go, but not with this one. If you like this like clear water, you're going to be able to scoop them quite low down, aren't you? You're going to look really good scooping them. Oh, it's been shot. Proper fish, Rich, isn't it? Proper fish. You can tell I've not been catching any big fish over the winter, so I'm playing it like a right tart, aren't I? Yeah, a little tiny £1.5 barbel looked in the fin or something's going to pop up. He's a carrots, isn't he? Get a look at him now. What is he? He's me big F1, Rich. He is. He's me one. You know what? He's doing some pulling for an F1, that, innit? That made me look a right wally, him. I swore that were a carp anyway. You were pulling. He's not £5, but he's what? 3.5. Believe how hard that went, and that's a proper F1, isn't he? He's a old school original one, him. I think that winds keep coming. I don't want that wind to stop blowing this way. If it does, I'm in trouble. Another big skimmer or an F1? Or an F1. How long? We've had half an hour, dude. We've got half an hour. What we got? We got £10. Easy. Easy £10, haven't we? Or about £15 maybe. We've had 4 F1s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, we've got £14.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, 2 skimmers.
Yeah, 3 skimmers. 3 skimmers go £3. Flying. Fish that short line now, 45 minutes. 45 minutes? Yeah, well 40 minutes we fished it for. And it's been good, I reckon I've got nearly £15 of fish on it. I've had 4 or 5 F1s and 3 big skimmers off it as well. But now, it's gone a bit weird. I can tell there's lots of fish there, but it's as if it's full of those little tiny skimmers now. So I've not been feeding too much, but there still seems to be a lot there. If I'm getting a bite, I'm missing it. Plus it's gone a bit calm now, so I can see more indications, and my float's constantly going. Little tiny knocks all the time, which I think it's them skimmers having a peck at me bait. So I've caught a couple of them as well. So what I'm thinking of doing now, I'm definitely not going to give up on this line yet. I think that's worth a few fish later on. But I think the worst mistake would be to keep on feeding it. So by continually feeding it, I'm going to make that problem of small skimmers worse and worse and worse. So I'm slowly thinking now about getting that next line involved. Same again then, little tiny indications. Definitely them skimmers having a go. But yeah, I'm thinking about bringing that longer line into it now. And I have to make the decision of whether to go straight on it and just feed a few pellets, which it should be all right to be honest, or to feed it for 5 or 10 minutes and then go on it. Well, I think I'm going to go straight on it because I had quite a quick response on this. When I went on this, I had a fish within 5 minutes. So I'm going to do the same on that long line. I'm just going to leave this and I'm going to let them skimmers clear the peg out. So there's one last drop. Yeah, I'm going to let them skimmers clear the peg out so there's no bait, and hopefully then they'll move off. If I were to try and feed them off, if you like, then I could make the problem a lot worse. So to begin with, I'm just going to leave the peg, let it clean itself out. Hopefully they'll move off and then I'll be able to start again. When I go on it later, or when I've retried a peg, I'm not going to feed these small pellets anymore. I'm just going to feed the larger, almost 6mm pellets, I suppose they are. They're quite a bit bigger. I'm just going to feed them next time I go on it, which hopefully should deter the skimmers altogether. See, there's lots of them there. My float's constantly little tiny dips. There's a big swirl a couple of metres past then. There's definitely signs as well that I'm seeing, both when I've played the fish and seeing a few fish top. There's definitely fish up off the bottom. So you're seeing quite a few F1s moving about. The sun's starting to come out now, it's warming up a bit. There's definitely a chance I'm going to catch off the bottom later on. Another little tiny skimmer. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave that now. I'm going to come off that line. And I'm going to move on to that long line and see what goes on. So I've got 2 options of feeding this long line. I can ping it or I can cut my bait in. They're the 2 options. Pinging it's going to make a lot of noise, but it's not going to be quite as accurate. Obviously cupping it's going to keep it lovely and tight, but I'm not going to have the benefit of them little bits falling through the water all the time. What I'm going to do, I'm going to start off by cupping some in. I'm just going to feed. I'm going to feed half a dozen. I'm going to put 6 or 8 pellets in. Just put some water on them, just drain them off. Make sure they sink. I don't think there's any need to feed the line in advance. As soon as we try and go out there, the wind's going to get up. Just on the joint, I'm going to lay that rig in. And I'm literally going to rattle those pellets right in line with my far bank marker. I'm going to put them all in one hit. I'm just going to give it 5 minutes and see what happens. So before I start feeding it, so if I were to ping it straight away with a catapult and it wasn't right because there weren't enough fish in my peg, then I'd spread those couple of fish over a bigger area and I wouldn't catch one, or I'd be much less likely to catch one. Where does bite? We'll bring that float up a little bit. By cupping it to begin with, keeping everything tight. If it is going to be a bit tricky and I'm not going to catch a lot off that line, then I'm not messing it up straight away. Just gonna crush one of my fine tuners off. It's off your bucket. Another couple. This rig that I've got on this line is a lot different to me. The line for the short was intended for the soft pellets. This one is it's Howard Fish Me hard pellets. Bit of crap on me. In that I've got a 4x14s float, despite it being about 6 foot deep. I've got a 4x14s, just with 2 number 12s in the bottom 2 foot, and then spread out number 10s above that all the way through the rig. So I'm going to have a nice little slow fall on this rig, which it gives the fish a lot of time to see my bait and potentially catch the odd fish on the drop as well. So with a hard pellet, I've not got to worry about it being as stable as I do with soft pellets on the slope. So that slightly lighter float, there's less chance of getting any tow out there as well with it being in open water. So that light float's going to give me a lovely slow fall. I'm going to have the best of both. I'm going to catch some fish through the water, or I could catch some fish through the water. And I can catch anything that's feeding on the bottom as well. So to start with, I'm going to keep things very, very tight and keep on working that bait over the top. I'm not going to leave my bait for too long. I'm going to leave it for a minute at a time, and then I'm going to lay the whole rig in again, just to try and grab a fish's attention. So I don't believe they're not on the bottom, that they'll follow a little bit of bait down and feed. But I don't think they're going to want to be on the bottom out there, especially with the weather that we've got. I think the deepest water's possibly the last place they're going to want to be. So another big fish just top there, right in the middle of the bay. See that one right next to it now? Did I just scare the shit out of that? I think, well, we've had 10 minutes on that long line. I just caught I hooked a little skimmer on it, which I weren't happy with. I thought they were going to be on that straight away. But this one's just had it, just as it's laying in exactly what I want to happen with this rig, if you like. It's followed me bait down and it's nailed it just as it touched the bottom. So it's another proper stamp F1, a big F1. So we don't need many fish at all to do a weight here. With the size of these fish, if I can catch 30 F1s today, we're going to be a mile off £100. I can get a few other fish mixed in as well. So they're proper fish then. So they're always the cleverest fish. You never catch them great big F1s with a big heavy nasty rig. They always want the light, slow falling rigs they seem to want whenever you catch them in open water. So both the biggest F1s that I've had have both been on the settle. So the other one was a bit unorthodox, the rig was too heavy on that short line, but still it was as the rig just went down, and then the same again with that one. So that the biggest, cleverest fish, they're almost frightened to pick any bait up off the bottom because they've eaten so many items off the bottom before and been caught. Almost the only safe bait to them is that's falling through the water. So by making your hook bait sink as naturally as you possibly can, you've also got a chance of catching them bigger fish. So you're not going to catch hundreds of them, but if I can catch 5 or 6 of them, it's a massive big boost to me weight. So I've laid me rig in, I'm just going to hold it tight. So I'm holding my float right over me marker, so my rig's swinging into right on top of my loose feed. Yeah, a little tiny dip just as it hits the bottom. So there's a good chance quite a few of them are skimmers, but they're still worth giving them a strike, especially the ones that have just hit the bottom. That's often when you're going to catch your biggest fish. Same again with this rig. I lay it right out along the surface of the water, just so I get a nicer fall as possible. I don't want to put this in a heap. I want to always remain in contact with my bait to my flow. So my rig's always tight. So anytime something touches it, I'm going to be able to see that bite. Also with a carbon stem float's really important for that, because it follows your bait all the way through the water as it goes down. I'm not sure what to think of this line. There's definitely not a volume of fish there, but I also don't think there's any fish whatsoever at the moment on the bottom, other than little tiny skimmers maybe. There's a little weird lift then of a possible liner. I think there's a small skimmers playing with me bait. I think once I build up a bit of bait there, put a bit of bait on the bottom, I'm likely to catch the odd carp. There's some big fish moving. I've seen 2 or 3 proper big lads just show themselves on the top, like around in this bay. There's definitely some carp in the area. I'll say whether they're feeding or not just yet, I don't know. It's middle of March, so well, it's not. It's nearly end of March. Sorry. It's still a little bit early for the big lads to feed. So there's definitely the odd sign already though of how it's going to pan out. So the short line was good and we had that initial burst, but after that it's definitely clear nothing wants to be in the deep bit, which says to me that I could potentially catch some shallow later on. I think shallow's looking the best option, but also the edges are going to be pretty good. The fish are going to want to be in that warmer water that's a little bit nicer than 6 foot. They're going to be in 2 and 3 foot, I think. So later on when they feed, I think the shallowest water in the edge, or the shallower water in the edge, is going to be the place to be. So I could definitely be wrong, but at the moment that's what I'm looking at. There's definitely just them skimmers on the bottom at the moment. Say cupping my bait in. It's not having the side effect that I was hoping for. It's got a few fish there, but the wrong fish. Let's get that slime off. So what I'm going to do now, although I'm still going to cup just to make a nice little accurate area, I'm only going to put 3 or 4 in my cup. Another big carp just showed itself then. I am going to get my catty out already and just try and make some noise and draw some fish in. Just try and make something happen. There's quite a few fish topping, and other ones just top further down the lake. Definitely here. What I'm going to ping the absolute minimal amount of pellets possible with the catty. I'm just going to feed 1 or 2 pellets with the catty. So I'm going to do it quite regular. I'm going to ping every minute. I'm going to ping my bait and I'm going to lay my rig straight over the top every time I feed. There's a little twitch on the way down then. Yeah, definitely it's not the right fish on the deck. Just check that bait's clean, especially after hooking a skimmer. Just going to ping 2 pellets over the top of that. So it's more about the noise rather than the volume of bait. If I put any volume of bait in, I'm going to knacker that peg really quickly because there's not a lot there at all at the moment. But it's, in all honesty, it's what I expected. It's still early. But I need to make as much noise as I possibly can with that tiny amount of bait, just to make something happen. Within 2 or 3 casts, it's really clear that they're not going to respond to a tiny pile of bait on the bottom. That they're not down there. I don't think they're down there. So keeping my rig active and keeping the odd little bit going through the water. There's another big fish swimming through there. There's a few carp swimming about, just trying to warm themselves up a bit. But yeah, I need to make something happen without destroying my peg. As soon as I've laid that in, I'm going to ping 2 over the top. Very, very little pellets. I feed a couple of times just to See, by feeding a tiny amount of pellets as well, I can be a lot more accurate. So the more you put in your catty, the more they tend to spread a little. With 2 or 3, I can put them right on top of that float, or within a couple of foot of it at least. There's a few fish being caught. Lad to me right will be not a mile behind me. He'll probably have 10 pound. I think I'll have about 15 now. 16 pound I'll probably have. It was strange, that one's came on the deck, that one just sat on the bottom. Oh, it's an F1 again. There's an odd fish about. They are absolutely massive, them, aren't they? I reckon the 3 big ones will probably go close to 10 pound here. So there's no need to panic for anything yet. It's still very, very slow. But we are, what, an hour and a quarter in. So I'm quite happy with the way it's going. I mean, 20 pound an hour in, hour and a quarter. That'll do me. That's well on target for. I'm thinking I'd like to catch 70 pound. I'd be happy to catch 70 pound here today. Whether that'll be enough, I don't know. I think 80 pound was second yesterday. Maybe 70 to 80 could be enough today. It's been a little bit colder last night, so you never know. And there's still nothing, no distinct things happening. No one's catching down the edge or anything like that yet. It's just odd fish all around. The chap to my left's catching a few in that nice little bay up there by the islands. Just able to skim a bite. But other than that, not a lot's happening. I definitely think from what I can see, we're at the fishy end. I mean, I can't see around the corner where they caught yesterday, but it seems to be there's a lot of fish this sort of area. There's quite a few in the middle of the bay over there. Lots of fish topping in the widest point, which is where you'd expect them. But these carp are also doing me head in. There's definitely quite a few big fish here, really, really big fish, but I don't think they're feeding. I think I've got to forget about them today. But it would be nice to catch a few great big lads later on, but I don't think it's quite right for them. But they're definitely here as well. They're showing themselves a bit. So the wind's changed a little bit now. It's gusting all over the place. It was blowing right into me bank before. Now it's not really very constant. It's blowing down this end of the lake, but not as good as it was before. So that lad's got another one. There's definitely a few fish to be caught in that bay up that top end. So he's fishing a lot shallower than me as well. His rig looks to be about, I'd say 4 foot deep. He's fishing 3 or 4 foot, which might be a good indicator for me to come shorter and fish towards that edge. It may be worth fishing down the edge quite early, because there may be some fish to be caught. There don't seem to be many out there. I've caught a couple, but there's definitely not a number of fish. A few skimmers and that. There's not a lot of big F1s out there in the deep water. So I'm not going to panic just yet. I'm going to give this another 15 minutes and see what happens before I make any decisions. Stick at this. We're definitely well in the race with 20 pound in the net. Oh, he's a carp, mate. He's a carp. The first old carp is that. We're gonna have a carp keep net, okay? Left keep net's gonna be for carp only. So unfortunately, mate, you might be very lonely by the end of the day. Yeah, the littlest carpy type fish we caught is a carp. Good sign that though, I like that. Same again, that's right as the bait's falling through the water. 9 out of 10 bites, that's when it's coming. Same again, it feels like a great big Ald F1. Oh, he's not a great big one, but I'm not moaning. Yeah, we're definitely not moaning. It just shows if you didn't have the right rigs and didn't keep that active, you'd catch nothing. You'd just catch small fish, the odd decent fish, but by keeping that active at this time of year in this clear water, you like triple the amount of fish that you're going to catch. I'm talking right. Well, we've just had a little spell now where it felt like a little group of fish have definitely come in a peg. We had a little arrival. I'd say I've just had 3 in 3 chucks on, all just as it's settling as well. They're watching that bait come in and settle. So I'm catching different F1s to everyone else. I'm catching proper great big lads. So they're gonna add up nice and quick. I think that chap opposite me is up there. I reckon that's the first carp I've seen up today. But something seems to be happening in my peg now, definitely. That Cattian's brought a few fish in my peg. It's not solid, a long way away from being solid, but it's nice and steady. So with the size of fish like that, I don't need many at all to get up to the weight that I think I'm going to need. Yeah, it's definitely a carp though. That chap's just hooked. But it's been a little bit different the lake now. This wind's getting a bit gusty. Whoa, really gusty. So let's leave that a minute. That's because I've just been commenting how the wind was looking like it was dropping a bit, haven't I? But yeah, making a bit of noise. Definitely brought a group of big F1s in. So I'm thinking against the fish and shallow aspect of it now. It doesn't seem as if it's definitely not the way to go at the moment, or wouldn't be the way to go. But laying that rig in, I'm catching them just as it hits the bottom, and now that they're responding to me bait a bit now, I'm sneaking ahead of everyone slowly, depending on how big that carp that chap's got is. I'd say that the catapulting's transformed the peg. If I was just to have cupped some bait in, I don't think anything would have happened whatsoever. So I'm catching quite regular. I'm catching, I'd say every 30 seconds I'm giving them a couple of pellets just to make that noise. And it's noticeable that most of the times I feed, I get a bit of an indication. So it's definitely getting the fish excited. They're responding to the bait. I'm still not feeding much. I'm just pinging 2 pellets just for that little plop plop around my float. So there's very little bait on the bottom. Same again, I fed them and I've had a little wobble. When I am getting an indication after I've fed, it's not immediately. I'm feeding and those pellets are probably getting down 3, 4, even 5 foot. They're close to the bottom before it's going. So it tells me the fish are right down in the water. They're not on the bottom, but they're definitely not shallow. They're not in the top 2 or 3 foot, not yet. I'm going to slow down a bit. I'm not going to try and... Oh, that's a little skimmer. There's still a few little skimmers here. I'm getting the odd little skimmer bite. That's a big old fish that bloke's got opposite me. I was just going to say, that went on the way in then. That was really high up. Really high up, that one. That actually was in the top couple of foot. But again, it just shows the benefit of that really light, strung out rig. If I weren't to have that, I wouldn't catch these fish. Same again on this rig, same as the short rig, everything's nice and light. I'm fishing, I've got a 0.15 main line, and I've just got no 10 hook length on. Some really nice, lighter stilazzi that we do. I'd say for open water, there's no need to go any heavier. It's lovely. It 100% makes a difference. Oh, I should have had in there, that was terrible netting. That 010, without a doubt, makes a difference for these F1s. Definitely, the water's so clear. I'm convinced it does it. It gives me so much more confidence fishing that light hook length. Catching these, say that's what, £3 easy, and you get it in with pretty much minimal fuss easy on 010. Yeah, he's definitely £3, isn't he? But no, it's going right, so I'm gonna stick with this for as long as it keeps going under. To be honest, with the size of fish, there's no need to come off this just yet. I say without doubt it will change. They'll either come shallow or fizzle out. So at the moment we're going to stick with this. I'm still cupping in 5 pellets, keeping it nice and tight, and then using the additional couple of pellets on the catch bowl just to draw the fish in and make something happen. But we'll see what goes on. There's been signs of fish, not down the edge, but in this area to my left. So I very much am feeling catching a few fish down that edge later on. I think that should be good. And the odd fish is getting caught down the edge as well, which is a really good indicator that they will feed down there. So I'm going to feed that just before I go on it. I'm going to feed it about 15 minutes before I decide to give it a little go. And I'm only going to feed it with a tiny bit of bait, probably 15 or 20 hard 6mm I think I'm going to go with. I think feeding those smaller pellets and going down the soft bait route could bring some skimmers in the edge. So to begin with, I'm just going to feed some 6s and see what happens. Right, well, I'm 2 hours in. And so I've just had a lovely spell along where I had like 5 or 6 fish quite quick, but then it's gone a little bit weird really quick as well. Weird, really quick. So I'm going to feed that edge. I was going to feed just some 6s down there, but I've changed my mind. I'm going to feed a few little ones, only probably 30 of them little ones, and a little pinch of them 6mm with some water, make sure they all sink. So I'm not feeding loads of bait, but I'm just going to put a little bit down there. I feel that with that wind hitting that bank, I could catch early on it. And a lot of people are catching quite short. So there's still fish to be caught long. I've just got to be patient, wait for the little runs to come in. But I need another option. Where are we fishing? We're fishing there. So I'm going to start off with that, shake that in. I'm not feeding a lot of bait. A little pinch of 6mm, nothing like those. And I'm going to give that 15 minutes, and then I'm going to go over it with a banded pellet. So just to, I think, feeding anything soft, I'm going to bring them skimmers into my peg. So I'm going to start with a banded pellet down that edge, just see what reaction it has. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to swap it to corn. So I've got 2 rigs set up for down that edge. I've got one close to them weeds where I've just fed that bait then, which is, what's that? That is 3 foot. But then I've also plumbed up right on the the right hand side of the shadow where it's about 4 foot, just in case they're not happy to go right into that shallow water. Like noticing what depth people are catching at, they are catching a little bit deeper. 4 foot seems to be where most of the fish are getting caught by other people at the moment. See what happens. But the lake seems to have quietened down a bit, which is it's almost what you'd expect in the middle of the match. Not seeing as many fish top anymore. There's not as many getting caught by other people anymore either. But I've got to be careful. So we're not knowing the venue. It's very difficult to know whether to push things or whether to just stick with what's happening. I mean, I'm doing all right on this lake, but then the other lake, which is Sycamore, I think, whether that's going to be better than this or not, I've no idea. So I think I've just got to almost play safe today and just not try and force my peg at any point, just tick over and catch odd fish all day. So I do think we should get a run late on. So we don't need very many fish at all either to do a weight. If I can catch a dozen fish down that edge late on in the last couple of hours, a dozen fish could well go 30, 40, even 50 pound. If we can get a few carp mixed in with them. We which will get us well on the way to the sort of weight we want. I reckon I think I've got £30 now, which I'm really happy with after 2 and a bit hours. That'll definitely do me today. But it is all about keeping them coming. So the difficult thing with these great big F1s is they don't keep on coming. It can be quite difficult to understand what's happening in your peg, because you're catching in your little runs all day, just 2 or 3 fish, and then all of a sudden it seems like there's nothing there in your peg, and then they'll come back and you get another run. So you've got to be really careful not to spoil your peg by introducing too much bait in them periods when nothing's feeding, because then when they do turn up, there's too many options for them and I catch less as a result. So if I just sit in here and just ping in them 1s and 2s instead, just trying to draw them back in with that noise, hopefully I won't spoil the peg. There's still some fish there. I'm getting the odd liner, and the good thing I've got today is with them skimmers being on the bottom, them little tiny skimmers, they're helping to clear my peg out or keep it clean, so which prevents that build-up of bait that I was talking about. So that gusty wind's making it a little bit, difficult to keep everything perfect. Right, well that was my second chuck down that edge. First chuck I thought it went, and second chuck it did go. So I've not fed much down there. I've fed a little pinch of the little ones and a few of the 6mm. And then that second cast I just fed some 6mm, but you could tell there was a few there. There's been an odd fish topping close to it. So I thought I'd give it a little quick go, just because that had gone a bit funny further out. It's really like a completely different F1 now. It's like a newer type of F1, that lot fatter, not the big old ones that we're catching out there. So I'm not complaining though, he's still probably £2. I'm going to stick with that now. It's what I'm after in every single match that I fish, is to have 1 or 2 lines that are capable of producing a few fish, which now it's exactly what I've got. I've got my long line that's chucking up and nodding and could come good later on. And now even better, I've got an edge that's catching some fish. And surprisingly as well, I've gone straight for the shallower water down the edge. I've gone straight for the probably 2.5, 3 foot rig, just to see if they're happy to come right into these reeds. And it looks like they are. It looks like a few fish are willing to come right into the edge. So we'll see, I'm just tapping those few pellets in, a few hard pellets, and I'm making sure I'm laying my rig right out into the, there we go again, laying that rig right out into the water, laying it out into the lake. It's an F1 again. It's what I did expect to catch down the edge. It to be an F1 day, if you like. Making a right mess of playing this one. Should have had him then. Come on, you bugger. It's horrific netting. Well, if we can catch him that fast down the edge, we're going to be on for a serious weight. I said 30 odd before. I think I'll need, if I can catch 40 F1s, then that'll be best part of £100. So that's one of the older ones as well. But yeah, probably 40 of them is going to be close to 100. I reckon we've got 15 of them now, easy. If we can catch at half this rate down the edge, we should be on for the weight that I'm going to need to win. So what I am doing, just to make sure they sink as fast as possible, I'm just filling my pot with a bit of water as well before I put the pellets in, and just tip the water out. It takes a second or two. Just make sure these sink as fast as possible when they get out there. So for the other line where I might catch shallow, I don't mind them sinking a little bit slower. But down the edge, or where I'm not going to catch them off the bottom, I want them down as quick as I possibly can. That'll just take a couple of seconds off the sinking time once they've gone in by putting some water on them. And just making sure I'm pinging that one as well. I've got to keep that little bit of noise going in. There's a lot of fish down there. Keep that little bit of noise going in on my far line as well. I've always got to have somewhere else to go. I'd say it took quite a while to get fish there in the first place on that far line. So if I was to just leave it, I'd have to build it up all over again once I went on it. So I must keep a little bit of bait going in that just to keep them interested in the area. But catching on this so quickly, it's a really, really good sign. There's some signs of fish down there as well. My float's moving about a little bit. So even though I'm down the edge, it could still be important to keep that bait going through the water, as in my rig going through the water as often as possible. I say F1s are the buggers for it, to be honest, watching your bait falling through, and sometimes a static bait on the bottom, they can be a little bit wary of it and not pick it out. So what I will do every probably minute or so, I'll just relay that rig in. So by laying it in that way as well, I remain tight to my hook bait all the time. I'm in contact with my hook bait. So I can almost pull my rig and see how my float sinks slightly when I do it. So I'm pulling it onto the hook bait, so I'm in contact with that hook bait all the time. Right, well that edge line's I've been on it for about 15 minutes, and I've had 4 big uns and a little one. So there's definitely a few down there, which is great. So it's not black, but there's definitely some fish to be caught. What really is interesting though is exactly what I said about my long line. Every single one wants it on the settle. Every single bite is coming from the big fish just as my bait's going down. Once it's settled on the bottom, so that's when I caught the smallest fish, or I'm not getting a bite. I've just got to keep relaying that rig in. The only thing I wish I could do is just that, where I'm fishing, just that awkward distance where I can't feed with a catty and I can't quite feed by hand as well. So I would like to be able to put some pellets over the top of it just to save me coming in and out with the cup. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep on fishing this for a while, but as soon as it goes a bit quiet, I'm going to make the decision to whether bring my short line closer where I can feed by hand, or more than likely I'm going to take it further away to another fish at about 13 metres where I can feed 6mm pellets really accurately with a catapult. Because feeding them at 10 metres, it's quite awkward feeding pellets with a catty that close, especially big pellets, and keeping them nice and accurate. So I think I'm going to do that just so I can feed it a bit better and a bit more regularly. I'm going to take my peg further away later when I need to, but for now we'll tick on. We're still putting a few fish in the net. I'm still feeding that line out there. So you can see when I go in, I can see that there's fish there. I put it in, and if I don't get a bite, it's moving and the odd little dip and that, but I'm not getting a bite when it's settled on the bottom. Just by lifting it up again, flicking that rig out, just letting it fall into the bank. Normally just as now as it settles, that's when I'm getting a bite. I'm like, ooh, I was just after that one. But other than that, the match is going really well now. I think I've got £40 now. You can see the fish are there. Yeah, it must have £40 in the net, that's well up here. It's probably winning this lake from what I can see. And it's really on target for me £70 that I'd like to catch. Really on target, especially with catching down the edge so early. I thought I might get 1 or 2 down there, but to catch a few and to feel as if there's quite a few fish down there as well, I definitely think there's a chance of catching a lot of fish down there later on now. And there's still an absence of any carp, but I've only seen 1 carp caught. So. I just think it's a case of none of them are feeding just yet. So I've got to forget about them altogether now. So it's just fishing F1 match, keep all my gear nice and light and keep my feed very accurate and minimal. And just keep it a nice F1 fishing match. Aim for 40 fish by the end of the day. Right, well I've just had 10 minutes down that edge and not caught one. But it's doing me head in a bit because there's definitely fish down there. I've had 3 or 4 indication sort of thing. What's going on here? But I was fishing 012, I had 012 hook length on because I thought that there might be a chance of catching some carp there. But now that I think it is pretty much F1 exclusive. What am I on about? Just F1's on there. I'm going to swap to 010. I definitely think that'll get me a few more bites, especially in this clear water. So I can probably see 2.5 foot down in the water. Probably, no, 2 foot down in the water. So I reckon them big crafty ones aren't liking the 012 hook length that I've got on. But we're going to see if it makes a difference now. A few more fish are getting caught now. Chap opposite me is catching a few. Lad, that point of the island seems to have a lot of fish on it as well. There's lots swirling and moving about there. The lad the other side of the island's catching. Fish definitely seem to be in this bay today, I think. Rather than up the top end where they were yesterday, I think. We're going to have a little look if this 010 makes a difference. The light's a bit awkward down there now, but shut up moaning and get on with it. I couldn't really see that then. Right, well it's just took me, I swapped to 010 and if I'm honest, it hasn't made a difference. I mean, it took me, whether there was nothing there or what, I don't know. But it didn't get me a quick fish that I expected it to. It just took me 10 minutes to get another one. And I really don't know what's happening. Although looking down that edge now, there's a bit of a disturbance, a bit of mud being kicked up, which should suggest some fish coming into the peg. So it's another great big fish like. Still, I am unsure of what I'm doing bait-wise though, whether it's the best. I can't even grab this one, he's massive. Stop fannying about and get him in the net. Prop on him, innit? We don't do many of them, but yeah, I'm not feeling the bait choice, whether it's right. I've got 2 other options. I can either feed some maggots, which I'm also not liking if I'm honest, just with the amount of small fish that are about, or I could soften these pellets up a little bit more, the small ones, and fish some corn with it. Like put a little pile of bait in and fish pellets and corn, which could work, but I don't know. I'm going to stick with this for another 10 or 15 minutes and I think I'm going to decide whether I need to make a change or not. It could be a case of I'm just down there a little bit too early and I'm expecting a bit too much too quick. So obviously it's only, what time are we on? It's only 2 o'clock, so I've still got 2.5 hours left. So possibly I'm asking a little bit too much, expecting to be catching down the edge already. Well, we're still doing all right. See, I've tried cattying down there and it's not as accurate as I want it to be, but even that, the noise didn't make any difference, didn't bring any new fish into my peg really. Not like it's doing further out. So I'm thinking possibly it could be better to put a little pile of bait in, sit over it and wait and see if they're willing to eat in that way.
I think it's one of those, it's just everyone's catching all the fish.
Yeah. Down there, mate, there's loads down there, and they're just being moody. Is there any thingies here, mate? Any net limits? You just split your fish? Yeah. I think I heard what he said. Lovely one. These are the biggest F1s I've caught for a long time in numbers. I'm really starting to enjoy this now. Weighing on me. Oh, you're still going? Look at him. Oh, look at him. That's like world record. He's just showing, he knows he's on camera, doesn't he? I've never ever seen one do that. Look how good along, he's still going. They call him Flipper. Flipper. Right, so I'm still catching a few fish down that edge, but I'm not happy. I feel there's more fish to be caught. I mean, I'm not doing it quite right. The hard pellets aren't quite right. But say I'm catching enough. I am ticking over. What I do want to do though, I'm going to feed some maggots on my right hand margin, right in the shallowest water. So I've just replumbed the rig that I was going to fish out in the deep margin, and I've just set it at what, 2.5, 3 foot, tight into this edge on my right. I've also found the same depth down here to my left. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a few maggots in there, quite a few maggots as well. I'm going to give them a good cup of maggots in there, just in case. I don't. It might not work at all, in all honesty, but I just feel that I need to do something else, just to cover my options in case this fizzles out on hard pellets. Like I say, I'm not controlling much. I'm just tapping a few pellets in, laying my rig in lots, and then eventually getting a bite. So I don't feel like I'm doing much, but hopefully if I can get them on these maggots, then I'll be able to get them crawling up the bank and really having a go for them. Okay, it's that time of year when you can get a really good arrival sometimes. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to feed half as much to my left, but just short to my left, just where I can feed them by hand. Just sneak a few in there, and then we're going to go back to where we were catching. So my match is almost, it's not completely changed, but all the decisions that I made to start with to catch a few fish, they've pretty much gone out the window. There's no need for me to go on the deck long anymore. There's no need to bother with the short line anymore. And I'm now on fishing down the edge, catching a few fish, and I'm still feeding shallow with the hope of catching a few fish shallow when I do go on it. I think there's a good chance of me catching a few. The chap to me right had one little run on it where he had 5 or 6 fish really quick shallow. So I do fancy it for a few fish later on. It's another option. I'm going to tick over on this edge for now, but now I've got plenty of options covered just in case this one does fizzle out, and in case the shallow line doesn't work. But see, I do really fancy it. I think we'll catch some on that. I'm continually pinging 5 or 6 on it. I've just upped the feed slightly because I'm not too bothered about spoiling the line on the bottom anymore, because I've got plenty of other options. So I've upped it just to make a little bit more noise and bring them fish shallower a bit quicker, to hopefully catch some shallow. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give this another 15 minutes. The lad's just caught one down the edge. Yeah, give this another 15 minutes, see what I catch. And then I'm going to have a quick 10 or 15 minutes shallow if the wind allows, just to see if there's anything there. 'Cause what is noticeable down the edge, although the good F1s, they're still, most of them are in excess of £2. They're not quite as big as the monsters I was catching out in front of me. And I'd imagine if I can get a run shallow, I bet you there'll be great big fish. I bet there'll be 3, even 4 pound fish possibly. So I do want to have a little go at that just to try and boost my weight up. I don't think I can come off this too, can I? What do you reckon? It might be a bit of a silly move in it coming off it just at the moment. No. I think I need to get job done before I play shallow.
People are catching a few as well.
They are, innit? It's happening now, innit? For everyone. This might be the first carp we've hooked, mate. It were weird. It's the first fish that I've hooked, and it's gone to the left.
Yeah.
Every other fish I've hooked, and it's guided straight out to the right. This is the first one that's gone to the left, so I'd almost put money on this being a carp. Pull him, Rich. He took some back off me, that one. He's borderline getting some pole back off me, but I don't like doing that. He's going to have it as well, a little bugger. Want some more pole? Or maybe not. No, stop being a wimp and get him in. Stop being a wimp, Jim Bob, and get him in. Is it a big one or? I think it's like a 5 pounder, isn't it? Come on, I'd have caught 2 F1s in this flipping time. Oh, I thought he's coming. He's a little podgy one that wants to keep wobbling, isn't he? Stubborn common. Come on, get up. Come on, board now. Tell you what, dude, it could be the biggest F1 in the world, you know.
When it's going off, it looks more F1.
It's potential, isn't it? I don't think it is, but yeah, it's a little fat one. It'll be a carp. It can't be an F1. It's a carps. It's a carps. Not a very big carps, considering the bloody fannying about I've done with it. He's a beautiful one, though. Look at him, mate. I need to pose with him and everything. He's beautiful, him, isn't he? Lovely. Right. Let's get the job done. Right, we've put a few down there. I've just randomly put my rig in and found a snag where I've been fishing for half an hour or an hour. So I'm just going to have that as my cue, just to give it a little rest down that edge. I'm just going to give it a few more maggots down this side. I'm just going to feed a few pellets to where I am feeding, down that far end. And I'm going to have a little go shallow. I'm just going to give myself 5 minutes or 10 minutes shallow at the very most, just to see what's happening, just see if there's a few there. It'd be nice to catch a few shallow. So it's another one of them little quiet spells when not a lot's getting caught. So I'm going to give myself just 5 minutes shallow, see if I can catch a couple. And then I'd be amazed if I don't. I'd imagine then I'm going to come down the edge and finish my match there. I think that's where I'm best spending my time, is down this edge. I'm certain it is. So we're just going to start. I'm going to start about 2.5 foot deep on my shallow rig. I'm going to fish much deeper because I've got about 6 foot out there. A little bit of a longer length of line between your float and your pole. That might be all right, that. Yeah, that might be good. It might be foul hooked as well. I think I might have gone over the back of it, but it's a good sign that there's a few there shallow. Is that foul hooked? I'm not sure. Yeah. It was a little bit too deep then, but I'm going to give it, no, maybe not. Give it one more chance before I shallow up. Right, well, I've got a bit of an issue, if I'm honest. So it's still going steady. We're still putting some fish in the net, which is all good. But I've almost had to abandon my left-hand edge, not through anything other than not being able to see it. So with that ripple coming down there, and the sun being right in line with it, I can't see out down there anymore. So I'm trying to keep a little bit of bait going in there for later. I might get another half hour on it once that sun moves. I'm having to pay a lot more attention to this right-hand edge now, where I've fed with maggots instead, which I wouldn't say it's any worse. I seem to go on it, catch a couple of fish, and then it goes quiet really quick. So I've just gone back on it now, and this is my second straight away. And if I can get another run here, it can push me right up. So I think I'm at me target now. I think I'm at £70 with an hour to go. So the last hour is going to determine whether I can push myself up there into a possible framing place. We'll see if they're all that big. Then it'll definitely be quite easy, innit, to get to £100. We don't need many of them. Another 10 of them and we're there. So it's interesting that they're feeding differently on maggots. Maggots I can put a little pile in. I can sit over the top of it with my rig on the bottom and get a bite. So nothing like it is with the hard pellets. Well, I suppose it's getting towards that sort of time of day now as well, where they're going to put their heads down and feed a little bit more. So an hour to go. What are we on? 3:30 pretty much. It's definitely feeding time. Everyone's starting to catch a few fish down the edge. The lad next to me's got a decent weight. He's very close to what I've got. I've definitely got to try hard. I can't give up at all. We've got to keep going or we're going to get beat. So I've managed to tune myself. I think I've seen 3 or 4 other carp get caught. So I'm not too worried about anyone having an arrival of big lads. I don't think that's going to happen today. I don't think they're willing to feed just yet. Still a bit too cold. So, as expected, it's very much an F1 day. It's strange, they come straight to my feed. When I do feed these maggots, they're straight in on it, and that's when you get a bite. If I don't get a bite within 30 seconds after feeding, I almost don't get one, but there's still fish there in my peg. It's as if they come and swish the maggots about and eat a few, but I don't get a bite or I catch a small fish. Keep laying that rig in. Not quite as often as the pellets, but I still want to lay it in every minute or so. There's a few fish down here now. Yeah, well, might have to try and get that short one working there. Oh, might be something different, that. A tench or something. Oh no, the left one. I thought something weird for a minute. Oh, you little bugger. Made a mess of the rig, I think. Not what I needed. Lovely. You only got to untangle him, Rich. I believe this is known as It's Solid, dude. This is an F1, dude. It is. It's the biggest in the world. In the world. I think it is. Corals. Big corals. Proper idea. They don't fit. That's a problem, Nick. long bucket. He did, didn't he? He was like, oh. He's a good one, mate. What's he? 9 or 10 pound. Right, well, I've got 20 minutes left now. It's gone proper lovely, to be honest. I haven't half enjoyed my day today. I think it being awkward to fish that left-hand line, I won't say it's helped me, because I'd have definitely caught a few there if I could have fished that as well, but it's been nice being able to swap the maggots as well on this right-hand side. I'd say it's got me a few better fish. I've just had a carp then, probably 7 or 8 pound. And it's just as good. I mean, there's plenty of fish to be caught on either edge, and this edge seems a little bit cleaner as well, so I can put my rig in a little bit nicer, sit and wait for a proper bite. The only thing I've got to do with this right hand edge is feed it a little bit different. If I carry on just tapping maggots or just blobbing maggots in with my cup, the peg seems to fizzle out quite quick. Whereas if I put a pot in and feed with my cup as well, I seem to be able to get little runs of 5 or 6 fish, or 3 or 4 fish, and then it goes a little bit quiet. Another one there. Although we seem to have had, this has been the best run I've had. I think I've had half a dozen since the last time I've been on this. But no, I'm really happy with it. The way it's gone today, this is a bit of a smaller one. But it's a good day when nearly a pound F1 is one of your smallest fish. So that the stamp today has been, it's been brilliant. You know, it's lovely catching some great big old F1s. That's what I'm hoping for. So we've got 20 minutes left. It'd be nice if I can catch another half dozen fish. I'll be more than happy down there. I think I've got to be, I must have 80 odd pound now, I'd guess that. I'm a bit hopeless at that, but I reckon I've got 80 pound. I'd say the one thing I'm wishing at the moment is that I'd set up a lighter rig to fish my maggots as well, in the same way as I was fishing the pellets with a nice slow fall. I wish I'd set up the same sort of rig for fishing down the edge. Well, I was worried that that'd be too easy for the little fish to intercept, and I'd catch too many small fish on it. In all honesty, I don't think that'd have happened. I think since the big fish have come into the peg, the little fish aren't an issue. I mean, so I'd have definitely caught more with a much lighter, slow-falling rig down this edge on maggots. I wish I'd have set one of them up, but other than that, it's gone really, really well. I've had a lovely match. There's no periods where I felt I've done the wrong thing for too long. We had a quick go shallow, which, to be honest, I knew I shouldn't have done that. But I just wanted to have a little look and see if there was anything there. And so we lost that one fish that were foul-hooked and then missed a couple of bites. But so the day's gone nice. We've been fishing in the right place at the right times when the fish have been willing to feed, I think. A little bit weird down there now. I feel it. I do need to rotate these edges a little bit. I can't keep flogging one and just keep catching on it. But sadly, I've got no other edge to fish at the moment. The left-hand one's not fishable. Let me put another one there. Another carp? No, F1. So I'm fishing really light elastic on that. I'm only fishing the yellow stuff, and it actually helps me to get more bites, I believe, because when I strike, the fish behave in a lovely docile manner when they leave my peg. So they leave my peg nice and easily, plus they leave the mates behind without spooking all the mates, so it means I can go in and get a quicker bite. Whereas fishing a heavy elastic, it can make the fish behave a lot more erratically when I first hook it, meaning it scares everything and I have to re-attract the fish back into my peg to get another bite. I don't think this is in the mouth, this one. Unless it's wrapped around it, I don't know. So I've just swapped my hook on this. I've just swapped to a size 16 after catching that last one. Still on 010 hook length, but it's a bit of a big hook. Put a 16 hook on just so I can pull a little bit harder, and as well so I can put 3 maggots on, just to give them a bit of a bigger bigger visual bait to pick out among a load of maggots. That was foul up, that I can't. I was pulling a little bit too hard then, I suppose. See, I'm still tapping it every time I go in, putting a pot in, probably about 20 maggots. So I've tried a couple of ways of putting in. I've tried just blobbing them in and fishing over a little lump of them, which has got me a few fish, but they definitely seem to prefer me sprinkling bait all over the place, making a bit of noise with them. So I've put up with that, although it's spreading my bait around a little bit. I'm still quite happy with that. You know, I can still sit and wait for a bite. It's not messing it up too much. Right, well we're in the last 5 minutes now, and weirdly I've had a little spell. It's been me quite a spell of the match. And I've just foul hooked an F1 in and lost it, but before that I've not had a bite for 10 minutes, not off a proper fish. So I definitely need to re-big pot it, but so I haven't got long enough now to pot it and let it settle. So I'm just going to stick with what it is. So I reckon we've had 3 carp, 3 big skimmers, and I reckon I've had 30, 35 F1s. It's been a nice day. What they'll weigh, I don't know. 35 is going to weigh 70 pound, with 15 pound of carp. So we must be between 80 and 90 pound, I think. Which I'd have definitely took that at the start. That should, well, going by yesterday's weights, that's all I can go with. That should threaten for a frame place. Whether it'll be good enough, I've no idea. But say, other than this last 10 minutes going a bit AWOL, there's not a lot more I could have done. I should have kept on feeding another line. I thought I'd get away with sitting down here for the last 20 minutes, but it's cost me a couple of pounds by not moving. It's come back in now, a little gang. I've just fouled off 2 in 2 chucks. Let's see if I can catch one more before the whistle. Just put another maggot on. Oh. It's gone all windy all of a sudden. All windy. No, I'd say it's been a perfect example today of an early season F1 match, you know, they behave. It's been nice to feed with a catty as well early on. I really enjoyed that, despite not catching a lot of fish. It was really nice to see them responding to a little bit of noise and coming to the feed for once, which they've not been doing for quite a long time. It's finally getting warm enough for them to want to search out your bait. Been a really good day. It just shows how, just by fishing light as well. So I've not had a single problem with hook lengths breaking or anything like that all day. And I say I fished 0.10 on pretty much every single line all day. That's the end of us. But no, that's been good. So we'll wrap it all up, chuck it in the car and wait to see what the scales tell us. Right, well, I finished the day with £108, which I'm lucky enough to have won a match with that. I think there's a 98 second. I think there's a couple of 80s as well off the other leg, so I'm really made up with how today's gone. I don't feel I could have caught a lot more, maybe another £10 if I'd not messed about shallow. Maybe I could have fished that edge as well, but other than that, it's been a really nice day and a dead good example of early season F1 fishing in an open water lake, that it's a bit dicky to start and your day does get better and better and better, and by not committing to lines, not spoiling lines and spending too much time on them and sort of waiting for it to get better, you can end up with a lot more in your net than if you just sit in one place and wait for things to happen. So you need to skip about a bit and keep them coming. But other than that, it's been a really good day and looking forward to come back here in the summer. Ta-da!